Okay, so my name's Mona, and I'm going to be talking to you guys about Project 2 and how to use all the Excel functions and save the graphs as pictures. Okay, so basically, first off, you're going to be looking at this normal landing condition, landing without bending, and landing with a slat. So this is basically like what the end trial should look like, and also the group analysis at the end here. Okay, so we're going to start off with our raw data, which is so in this case, this is the normal raw data for me. I went ahead and already expanded the columns that we're actually going to be using the data from. So in this case, we're going to be using the acceleration from the y. So in this case, you can see that for each run I did that because each run represents a different trial. So we're going to go ahead and just delete each unnecessary column by simply pressing the Control button before we select the column. That way we can select multiple ones at once. Makes our life easier in the end, right? And you can go ahead and actually delete the time column for each run, except for the first one, because the time should be the same for each run. Okay, delete. So that leaves us with our run 1, run 2, run 3, and acceleration based on the y. We can go ahead and actually delete this first column as well, and we're going to rename each of these headers with the appropriate names. So this guy will be trial 1, trial 2, and trial 3. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and actually auto-size this, or auto-fit this again, by simply just like hovering over the column ending and then double-clicking when that little thing comes up. This way you have more room to do your analysis. Okay, so first things first, since we're working with acceleration and we want to find force, we're going to have to calculate our weight in different units. So most people know their weight in pounds, but we're also going to calculate our weight in kilograms and our weight in newtons. Oops. Okay, so you're going to just have to know your weight in pounds, really, so mine, I just go ahead and enter. But you can calculate your weight in kilograms by simply pressing the enter button and using cell references by clicking on that cell, which is your weight in pounds, and dividing that value by 2.2. Okay, so then you can also calculate your weight in newtons by cell references again by clicking enter, selecting your weight in kilograms that you just calculated, and multiplying that value by 9.81. Let's go ahead and press enter. Okay, so this calculates the weight that you're going to be using to calculate further analysis of this data. So based off of the actual data that we collected, we're going to be wanting to calculate the maximum acceleration, maximum force, and the force relative to body weight. I'm going to go ahead and resize this again, and you're going to do this for each trial, trial 1, trial 2, trial 3, and you're going to calculate the average so that we can analyze our group data at the end. Okay, so in order to calculate the maximum acceleration for each trial, all you have to do is use the maximum Excel function. So you simply do this by by pressing the equal sign and typing in max and selecting each column based off of the trial. So for trial 1, it's going to be column B. Trial 2, it'll be column C. And trial 3, it will be column D. Okay, we'll worry about our averages in a minute. Okay, so to calculate the maximum force, you can also use cell references. So you can press the equal sign and select your weight in kilograms, and then go ahead and multiply that number by your maximum acceleration. And do this for each trial. Okay, now that you've done that, you're going to calculate your force relative to body weight. So you're going to press the equal sign again, and we're going to use cell references, and you're going to do your maximum force, which you just calculated, divided by your weight in newtons. So do this for each one. Okay, so next we're going to calculate our averages using an average Excel function. So you can just type average and double click that, and then once that pops up, you're basically just going to select the cells that you want to do the average on. to make the time go quicker, you can actually just autofill this by simply dragging down the little right button, and when you click on it again, you see that the average is calculated for what you exactly want. So that's perfect. Okay, so next we're going to create a graph based off of our data. So go ahead and select all of the data that you have. So, okay, and in our case, we're going to want to go to the Insert tab, go to the Scatter Plots, and insert a graph with smooth lines. I'm going to go ahead and move this guy up here just so we can look at it with the rest of our numbers. Okay, so make sure that you add a title for this chart based off the landing. So this is the normal landing condition, right? Okay, and make sure that you go to the chart elements and go ahead and add the axis titles, and go ahead and erase the grid lines from your graph by deselecting that. Okay, so once you're at this point, you can go ahead and title each axis. This one will be your time. And this guy represents your acceleration. Okay, so basically this is what your graph should look like. And I went ahead and already did this for each of it, so each of the landing conditions, so you know that this is your normal, this is your landing without bending, and this is your landing with a slap, each with the same weight units. Okay, so now we can move on to our group analysis. Basically, you're going to want to create like a table based off each subject along with the average and the different landing conditions, so normal, without bending, slap, and same thing. So you're going to do this for your force or your impact, and you're going to do this for your averages of your force relative to body weight or your impact relative to body weight. It's basically the same process for each one, so I'm just going to go over one. Okay, so for yourself, you're going to want to do cell references actually with this, and you can do this simply by just clicking equals, going to the worksheet that has your data, pressing the average maximum force, and just simply clicking enter. And this will give you the cell reference, and I did this for each one, so that way you have cell references in there. And also for the average, again, you're going to be using the average function, which you previously used for each condition. Okay, so next you can create a graph based off your data. So we're going to go ahead and select all this data and go to the Insert tab. And instead of doing a scatter plot, we're going to be doing a 2D line with markers. If it shows up something like this, then go ahead and switch the row and column because we want it to look more like this. Okay, so then actually you're going to go ahead and add the axis titles for this guy, which I already did. And I would keep the grid lines for this one just because it's easier to actually look at the data. In this case with the axis titles, make sure you title the graph and the axis titles for both of the analysis. So same thing with the impact relative to body weight. Okay, so last thing is that we're going to save these as a JPEG or a GIF file. So actually going to right click and copy this, and you're going to open up a Word document. And go ahead and paste it, but make sure you paste it as a picture in there. If you right click, and you can see that. So go ahead and right click on the image that you just pasted and go to the button that says Save as Picture. And then go and save it wherever you want, and you can save it as impact or whatever you want, right? Impact group, let's just say that. But make sure when you do the save as type, you do it as a JPEG or a GIF file. I'm going to do it as a JPEG and save. And there you go. So you did that. So make sure that you do this for each of your graphs, and then go ahead and upload it all to Box. And you're good. Hope that helps, guys.